From this distant vantage point, the Earth might not seem of any particular interest. But for us, it's different.
Hello,
world.
BigWaveAstro is back, and it's Leo season.
As of today, that's right. We're in Leo season. Oh my goodness. And things are heating up. I don't know about over there, but in New York, it's really hot. Having like a heat wave the past few days. Over there too?
It's been pretty mild. It's actually been just about perfect. We're sending you some other. I'm in Portland on the West Coast, so it's been pretty mild.
Pretty mild. We've been.
You got the fires and stuff. The smoke a little while back. That was a little sus.
That was very suspect. Oh yeah, when the sky was orange, yellow, red for like 2 days. That was very scary. I don't know. I don't know anyone that suffered anything bad from that time, but that's not normal. It's geoengineering.
We get something similar. We get something similar with our forest fires.
Exactly. That's what I think it was.
Yeah, the sun then turns this like eerie red, and it looks like you're in some Star Wars episode.
Yeah, or Apocalypse Now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Very apocalyptic. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the mask, people break out the masks again, and go through that ritual.
And I don't know if we have another.
By the way, that's when it actually makes sense to wear a mask.
That's when it does make sense to wear a mask.
Yeah, that's when it actually is like applies and some utility there. You
don't want to be breathing that air, definitely.
So the sun's in Leo.
Oh yeah.
In a sign of majesty and having a good time, and of course Venus is in Leo. We'll get to the Venus part because Venus is in a very, this finger of this yod, right? This tip of this yod.
Finger of fate.
Let's hold off on that.
Okay.
For the list, just say the sun's in Leo.
Yes.
And then the moon's in Sagittarius, which, not to disclose any of your personal information, but I think the moon might be in and around your south node right now, good sir.
Oh, wow. So by Antares, around my south node.
The moon is at 13 degrees Sag. Where's your south node?
My south node is 15 degrees Sag. Yeah.
Look at that.
But I have Uranus at 11, Venus at 17. So I have planets in that vicinity. That's actually good. Yeah. Okay. I like that. And my progressed moon's in Sagittarius. So I've been hanging out with my neighbor more. I've been walking around my neighborhood and meeting some people in my neighborhood and just networking.
More adventurous.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I moved out of the progressed Scorpio moon, which was kind of a hellish time for me. And now I feel like
that's mom's basement. That's mom's basement. Crawled out.
And it's burdensome. So I have this big burden lifted off my shoulders for the past 2.5 years. And in mid-April, I entered a Sag progressed moon. And it's a lot lighter of a feeling, especially because I have so many planets in Sag and Scorpio.
A little bit like home. It's a little bit like home for you. Sag is a little home, like home.
It is. It's at the bottom of my chart. It's very homey for me. Yeah. Yeah.
So since that's the case, what does the Sagittarius moon want us to know about feeling, do you think? What's it inviting us to feel, Sag moon?
Can you get excited? Feeling passionate excitedness, especially with the sun in Leo. You combine those two, it's very passionate, very courageous. And it wants to, between Leo and Sag, there's a lot of traveling and wanting to explore new territory. And that's the whole thing with Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a traveling sign, and it's very much whether it's physical travel or psychonautical travel, right, of the mind, and higher learning, supposed to be like scholastics, college, or doctorate degrees, master degrees, any type of learning.
This urge to expand. It's funny you were saying that because I was feeling into something I was feeling today, which is sort of the inverse of what you're talking about, but it's Sagittarius, which is feeling cooped up. like I want to fly, like I want to go somewhere, but I'm feeling kind of like in my own little bubble. And I'm
Yeah.
feeling my Sag is feeling like my fire is feeling contained. And I think people with a lot of Sag energy, they have to just go hiking, they have to go canoeing,
Oh,
they have to
yeah.
go, they have to do something or they'll get angry.
One of my biggest, I don't like to admit this, but one of my bigger fears is a claustrophobia. I don't like
Mm.
elevators. I don't like tight spaces, confined
Mm.
spaces. I've been trapped in elevators. I've been trapped in closet rooms and other
What
stuff
about
like that.
subways? What about subways?
Subways don't bother me.
Okay.
There's a traveling vibe. As long as I'm moving, if I'm trapped and I can't get out and I can't move, then I freak out. I don't like that at all. Elevators too. I'd rather take 14 flights of stairs if I have to. Of
Mm.
course, I'll take an elevator if I have to, but I try to avoid them. And it's hard sometimes, especially living in New York. If I have to go to
Mm.
Manhattan or like some of these buildings in Queens, it's like, oh, meet me on the 30th floor. God damn it. All right. I got to hop on an elevator. All right, but that's living with my
You
fears, whether your
have to get out of
fears
the
are big or
city.
small.
If you had
What?
to get out of the city quick, would you be able to do it?
Quick? Yeah. Yeah, if I had to get out quick, I think I could, but there is a traffic jam getting from like Long Island into if you're in the Bronx, you're good because you're like in the actual um continental United States. Everything else is an island. So I'm on an island technically.
Mm.
Manhattan, Long Island, Brooklyn, Queens is connected to Long Island, and Manhattan and Staten Island are islands. Only the Bronx is connected to continental United States or the state of New York State.
Well,
So I think I'd have a mess. Yeah.
speaking of traveling, Mercury just barely moved into Virgo, and it's
Just now.
basically in opposition to Saturn and Pisces now, along with Mars. We have Mars and Mercury together in Virgo saying, "Hey, we're strong together. We got this Virgo thing. If me and you stick together, we can even take on that big tough guy, one of the toughest, right? Saturn.
Saturn. Oh
Saturn is
yeah.
one of the toughest guys. And
Mm-hmm.
Mars can't take on Saturn by himself, I don't think. But maybe with
Probably not.
Mercury he can.
Yeah, yeah, and Mars and Mercury together, you have to watch out with being too rash, jumping into
Mm.
things too
Uh,
soon, and also watch out with your tongue. You could say something that you end up regretting. You
Being
could,
critical, I bet, too. Like
oh
really
yeah,
critical. Oops, I shouldn't have
critical.
said that. Yeah.
Yeah, very
That wasn't
critical.
really compassionate. And Saturn and Pisces might even crack your hand with a ruler if you don't have some love and some compassion there. And you're just like kind of a cold Virgo, kind of without any
Mm-hmm.
water. Saturn and Pisces might be like, snap,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Saturn and Pisces.
bust
That's a
them out.
whole nother dimension, Saturn and
Saturn's
Pisces.
kind of like a strict principal, of a
Yeah,
school.
yeah, sobering. Saturn is the force of centripetal, and Jupiter is centrifugal. And if you want to remember the
Mm.
differences, centrifugal, I think of the word fugare or fuego, which is smoke, fire. It raises up. So Jupiter is like expanding up, centrifugal, and centripetal is coming down or restricting and
Yeah.
constricting. Like pedal is like Pedro or Pedra, which is rock. So think of like a rock, like it's very, earthy and confined to the material realm. So that's Saturn. And you need both of them, otherwise you just be expanding forever and full of ideas and you never would materialize them. And with Saturn, you'd be all work and no play,
Mhm.
boring and dull, and just like, what's
If
the
you
meaning
want to
of
nail
life?
something down for a long time, like a legacy,
Yeah,
Saturn's your man.
Saturn's your man for
Hey,
legacy.
speaking of, this is kind of an interesting time to talk about this yod because we have Mercury and Mars up here,
Mm-hmm.
opposite Saturn. And then
Opposite Saturn.
over here we have Venus in Leo.
Venus at the end of Leo.
Mercury. That was just conjunct Mercury.
Yes.
And that's
yes.
kind of at this point called a yod, which has sort of an in conjunct sense.
Yeah.
You have Pluto in Capricorn at the anaretic degree. After this long 15-year cycle, we're at the tippity end of Pluto and Capricorn taking care of
Yes.
business. And then you have in this other in conjunct, you have this Neptune in the
Neptune
later
Pisces.
degrees in Pisces. And
Mhm.
Pisces and Pluto are famous work together. It's like
Yeah.
Scorpio and Pisces. They famously work together. And then you have Venus. And the thing I'll just add to this, because then I want to set you off on this, is I know that Venus had been involved in some serious retrogrades in the past in Capricorn, where Venus, the feminine, I sometimes call the princess, or this feminine energy, actually had some direct confrontations with Pluto and Capricorn. Some really powerful retrograde experiences when Venus was a Capricorn, retrograding, meeting up with Pluto. Now it's in Leo. And I think the big question is, what has Venus learned about her worth, about her strength, about her capacity to get through the darkness, all sorts of things. So that's kind of, I'm more just curious about that rather than having any answers. But
Yeah. So that yod, that finger of fate, yeah, exactly. So Venus started the retrograde exactly 150 degrees to Pluto in Capricorn and Neptune in Pisces. And this finger of fate, it's letting you know that it's connected to the collective consciousnesses. Pluto and Neptune and Capricorn and Pisces very much rule the big collective sphere, what's going on in society, everything from the economy to religion. And with Venus in Leo, this is everyone's passion, everyone's heart, everyone's pride, how they look also. And Venus is going to make a lot of aspects during this retrograde to Jupiter and Uranus, okay? And this is going to affect the yod, okay? Now, with this yod, because it's connected to the collective consciousnesses, we're going to see this is a long-term thing, okay? And this is in between the lunations of the Cancer new moon that we're still being affected by, because that was opposite Pluto, square the nodes. That's huge. Pluto and the nodes really give us a sense of where our destiny and where our story's going. And with that Cancer new moon that we had and the Capricorn full moon, we're still being affected by those. And now with this Leo Aquarius full moon we have coming up also, and the Leo new moon, there's a lot of collective energies, Pluto, Neptune being involved, and especially Uranus. Uranus is being involved heavily. Like I said, Venus is going to square Uranus, but also the upcoming Leo new moon is exactly square Uranus. So there's a lot of tension in the collective world. There's a lot of changes, upcoming changes happening. And what's going to be changing is the major values of what society has passion in. What are you passionate about learning? And also, what do you want to protect? Because we have to create something new. There's going to be a new world being created. There's a new world being created. And I'm very much seeing AI as a major platform, especially with all this Leo and Venus. It's going to be, oh, how can you change the way you look, the way you appear, your confidence levels? You can be an avatar. You can take on creations of mega proportions, and you can build confidence in this avatar, this AI, or having relationships. Venus and Leo, sex and women and relationships and love making with robots and AI. That's another theme I'm seeing.
Upcoming full moon in Aquarius as well.
Yeah.
And and Pluto getting ready to move in January, move into Aquarius for 20 years. And, along with what you were saying with the AI, this age of Aquarius that's really being queued up. And I'll just throw this out there, but I feel like we're being led into this old world collapse where we used to give away our authority, our sovereignty, give it away to these bad leaders. And we see this bad leadership, this bad Capricorn leadership in the world now that Pluto's exposing: governments, institutions, establishments, celebrities. And I think we're looking into a situation where superheroes, the death of the superhero, because the superhero is like a savior, because Aquarius, a high expression of Aquarius or a Pluto empowered Aquarius says, go look in the mirror because you're the superhero.
Yeah.
It's not a Hollywood star. It's not a rap millionaire. It's not a president.
Yeah. It's not
None
an
of those
idol
people are,
that you're idolizing.
right. So the idol or superheroes are dead because you're the superhero and you're going to have to depend on you now,
Yeah.
less on the government. Because I think the government institutions, establishments are just walking zombies at this point.
Exactly.
They're
So with this Venus and Leo, it's really looking within. Remember Venus, I was telling you the other day, we were talking, and I said Venus, the logo, the symbol of Venus is like a handheld mirror, and it's very much about reflections. What do you find valuable? It reflects a part of you. Taurus, who do you find valuable and worthy in your relationship? It reflects who you are. So the reflection, the mirror of Venus, I was going somewhere with the mirror theme. Just forgot. We were talking about
superheroes.
Well, yeah, the Venus and Leo. Oh yeah, so reflecting inward. You want to really go inward with this Venus retrograde in the sign of the heart and the spine. Gain your courage in yourself, and the North Node's in Aries, the sign of self. So destiny, the North Node, the dragon head, the destiny point is in the selfish sign of Aries, saying, take your willpower and direct it into one big harnessed ball of energy, vibration, and fortitude and conviction, and shoot it at whatever you want to grow and change. And there's so much collective energy between Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus involved in the next few weeks. So much energy that's going on that really I'm seeing society take leaps and bounds, whether it's negative or positive, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, rebellions and
stuff emerging, and there's a lot of stuff becoming dismantled right before our eyes. One thing that I want to comment on is I definitely felt the shift of North Node from Taurus into Aries, and I noticed a real pep in my step. Definitely time to light those, get into action mode. But I've noticed that with myself, and I've been pretty well positioned to do that. But I noticed other people are struggling a little bit because of the South Node collectively we just had for 18 months in Scorpio.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what I call that is like a debris pileup. It's nothing's wrong. Everything's perfect. Everything's great. It's just that there's a lot of debris piled up that's not managed yet out, because let's just say a lot came out of the South Node area. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and it's going to affect relationships now. It's going to affect relationships. Right.
Debris is going to affect. So talk about that, the South Node in Libra that we're in.
The South Node in Libra. So, wherever you have Libra, whatever planets you have in Libra, the South Node in Libra is going to kind of give endings where endings need to be. And what needs to be drained out from partnerships and one-on-one relations, intimate, friendship, business, teacher-student, any type of one-on-one relationship where you value that person or you value that unit, that we togetherness, the we-ness. There's going to be stuff that needs to grow, other areas, other people. There's going to be relationships put to the test. Under pressure. There's many changes going on when it comes to the old habits and the old ways of your relationships.
So if I was a person that says, Daniel, I feel like there's certain areas in my life where I'm dependent on other people in maybe not the most strong-willed way, what would you say? That's something I need to look to get integrated and take a look at. Now, right?
Of course, it's a big thing. I mean, it's a process of 18 months, a year and a half. And of course, it's not just South Node in Libra, it's North Node in Aries. So you're going towards what your will really wants. Where's your Mars? Where's Mars in the chart transiting? All these different questions, but you want to go towards harnessing your willpower, having more courage, especially with the vibe of all this Leo energy and the Venus retrograde in Leo. You want to really redefine your values, redefine your desires, what you want, and the relationships that you want, because Venus, the relationships that you want, that's going to make your heart, your backbone, your courage grow, because we're going to need courage where we're headed in the next few years. We're going to need to be lions, not sheeples. We need to really redefine who we are and take that mirror, that Venus mirror, and reflect it inwards and see that we're not a little kitten, but we're a big lion with a big mane, and we're roaring, and we have that solar energy because the sun rules Leo, as people know, that the sun right now is in rulership.
It's exalted in
and
Aries.
And it's exalted in Aries. Very good. Yeah, it's exalted in Aries, which is where the North Node is. There's a lot of, the North Node is, Aries is trine Leo because they're both fire signs.
So
very good energy.
Fence sitters. What's going to happen to fence sitters now?
Fence sitters, people sitting on, they don't know which side. Yeah.
They're going to get a rash. They're going to get a rash. Something's going to happen.
You're going to need to make a decision making also, because Libra, South Node can weigh their options and get really, and then they can make a decision, but then someone can talk to them and then they can sway them. And then they talk to someone else and then they get swayed again. It's like, whoa. So you really want to look within, harness your willpower, and find out what is it that, fill in your name, what is it that you want?
I'm going to call that, for the next 18 months, South Node and Libra, I'm going to call it the wishy-washy side of the street.
Yeah, wishy-washy, yeah.
That's where we're going to need to let go of some stuff and also integrate karma there. And depending on where that is in your chart, you can ask an astrologer like me or Daniel about that and get real specific, because it makes a huge difference what sector of your life it is. Get a good reading, especially for, to set the tone for the next 18 months. Mm-hmm. And then people that are more self-directed, knowing what they want, going out and get it, and being in action. A little bit of talk is okay, but action is favored. That's where that's what Rahu is going to favor.
Yeah.
Which is the North Node.
And it's critical action with Mars and Virgo. There's a lot of research, because Mars is also going to be trine on the upcoming Aquarius full moon on August 1st, a couple days from now. Mars is going to be trine Jupiter. So that's going to be in Earth signs. Jupiter's in Taurus, Mars is in Virgo. So there's a lot of action, Earth-based action, grounded action that needs to be materialized in this day and age. And I also think that with the next two lunations, the full moon in Aquarius and the new moon in Leo, that things that are invented now, that come out now, there could be something wrong with it that needs to be retweaked, because that Mercury's opposite Saturn. That Mercury's opposite Saturn, and Venus, of course, is retrograde. So things that are invented right now, there could be an inability to properly connect, or the people might not be able to connect to it, understand it. This can be with relationships too. Watch out with making rash decisions. Make sure you go over your documents, go over anything, because of the Venus retrograde and Mercury opposite Saturn retrograde. There's a lot of retrogrades. Your messages, numbers, anything, documents, go over it. There could be a clashing of ideas, and a clashing of ideas with people in society, because that Mercury Saturn opposition, that's a big one. Yeah. So these lunations, very, very interesting. And Venus will be square Uranus in both lunations. So with the Venus square Uranus, there is a strong risk-taking factor with this. There's a strong risk-taking factor. There's a strong making radical new friends, meeting people that are radically different. It's like, oh, I want to make friends with this person, but they're into something I'm never really comfortable with.
Unusual fellows.
Exactly, yeah. People that you might not expect to have ever befriended. And then maybe close friends also, hey, no more. There's changes, when it comes to Venus and relationships. Maybe more of taking an independent streak also. That Venus square Uranus during both those lunations could kick it up. And to be exact, the Venus square Uranus is going to happen August 8, 9, 10, and again September 28, 29, 30th. And Venus is also going to square Jupiter August 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and again September 28, 29, 30th. Same thing with Venus square Jupiter. There's a lot of big ideas, which can be very good. But also there can be a lot of super idealistic ideas that because of the retrograde, because of some of these aspects, they don't hit the mark and they need to be retweaked or redone over. Also with those quincunx energies.
What I was getting a sense of when you were talking was South Node in Libra building with all this truth, so-called truth out there and differences in perspective. There's going to be a lot of debating.
Oh, yeah. And judging.
Yeah, debating and judging and debating. Meanwhile, Aries on the other side of the street is just going to be out there doing stuff, building houses, building, doing whatever. And there's going to be people debating, sitting around debating,
Yeah.
And it's probably not wise. So the suggestion to folks out there, it's probably wise to kind of stay out of those debating circles. It's not going to be very fruitful. It's more of just a release. It's more just the dragon that has gas. That's going to be this debate gas.
Meantime, there's a lot of action-based energy that you can delve into with all this earth-based energy. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It'll have like a spring-like flavor, like a fresh new branch coming out of a plant. It has that kind of fresh Aries quality to it.
And especially with the Leo new moon on August 16th, the Leo new moon is going to have a grand Earth trine. So Mars around 23 degrees of Virgo, Uranus around 23 degrees of Taurus, and Pluto around 28 degrees of Capricorn, making a grand Earth trine, as well as that Leo new moon is exactly 23 degrees Leo. So it's exactly square Uranus, right, in Taurus. So that's going to bring huge release of just, again, the weird, the freaky, the unorthodox, the ideas coming out of nowhere, new downloads, rebellion. I mean, people really clashing with their ideas, because you have Leo, again, the ruler of the sun. So any new moon, full moon Leo, you're dealing with a very strong new moon, because this is the ruler of the sun. And, sun and moon are together during a new moon. And with Uranus, it's the opposite axis of Leo, which is Aquarius. The ruler of Uranus is Aquarius. So you're dealing with a very strong Leo and Aquarius axis energy with that new moon. Also, Uranus being square to that new moon is also in a grand Earth trine. So Uranus is not only square, exact, but it's in a grand Earth trine, exactly trine to Mars. And the new moon is also trine Rahu. So that Leo new moon is looking very, and by the way, whenever I say new moon, full moon, it does last about 3 months. It does take about 3 months to unfold, especially if it's like a solar eclipse or lunar eclipse. That could be a 6 months to 1 year of affecting you. These spots are very potent.
How does Leo feel about communism?
Well, maybe Aquarius, maybe, but a Leo, no. Leo is shy. What makes you shine? With this Venus retrograde in Leo, you want to say, how do other people make me shine? Venus square Uranus. How does that group make me look good? Or do they bring me out? Do they make me not look good? Am I a wallflower? Or do I have some leadership abilities? Do I speak from the heart? Do I connect with people in a passionate way? Do I speak my mind? So there's a lot of stuff going on with these, a lot of aspects going with these new moons. Also, Mercury enters the day that Mercury enters. I'm sorry, the day Mercury goes retrograde on August 23rd is the same day the Sun enters Virgo. So Mercury is going to go retrograde in Virgo, which is the ruler, okay? So the ruler of Virgo, which is Mercury, is going retrograde the day the Sun comes into Virgo. So there's something very Virgoan about this. But the main thing I want people analyzing, researching, there's a lot of stuff with what service are you giving? But besides all that Virgoan stuff, the main gist I want to get to is with this Mercury retrograde on August 23rd, it's going to be during the same time. It's going to coincide with the Jupiter retrograde, okay, happening in Taurus. 2 earth signs, Jupiter and Mercury, are going to go retrograde, both in earth signs, okay? And Jupiter is going retrograde from 15 to 5 degrees in Taurus, the same exact degrees that Mercury went retrograde in back in April. Mercury was in Taurus and it went retrograde from 15 to 5 degrees. And now Jupiter's in Taurus and it's going retrograde from 15 to 5 degrees.
Maybe this is a good time to bring this question up then, now that you're talking about that. So I'm thinking messages, I'm thinking Uranus, something. So maybe this ties into the UFO stuff that's picking up.
With Uranus, yeah, with Aquarius energy, with Uranus. And and Mercury, yeah, sure, technologies and stuff like that, communications.
The government and media is sort of teasing the story and then stopping and starting again and stopping. Like they're preparing us for a revelation of visitors.
That's what I've been watching a lot of that stuff too. They're preparing us for visitors. They're preparing us for Project Bluebeam. They're preparing us for some type of possible simulation in the sky. It'll be controlled under their watch. What I'm, obviously.
And I heard that it's going to really green light a lot of money and resources into protecting us from new dangers. So it's a whole pretense for siphoning off billions more money.
Siphoning off billions, in the name of protection. And for those Cancer, the Cancer new moon that we had, and the Capricorn full moon back in July 17th, a big word is protection of the country, protection of the people, protection of the home with Cancer and Capricorn. And we're still being affected by these major, because that Cancer new moon was huge. Opposite Pluto, square the nodes. And the same day the Cancer new moon happened, the nodes switched signs into Aries and Libra. So, definitely protecting the world. This is for your protection. And that's going to be leading a bunch of major changes that's happening. And that Leo new moon with square Uranus, there's definitely going to be clashing of people with ideas, of course, whether politics or whatever, but also clashing of AI with people. Our true hearts and our true creativity, Leo, our creativity against the robots' creativity, against the algorithms, against artificial intelligence. So it's literally this Leo square Uranus is like, that's what I'm seeing. It's the human pumping heart and spine that is taking on the energy of the fuel-based fake plasma, whatever's running these robots, AI, artificial intelligence. That's a big thing, and it's our creativity is at stake too, because that's what Leo's showing you, creativity, and the children too. Protect the children. That's another big phase coming up.
With Pluto moving into Aquarius for the next 20 years, the one thing.
Oh, by the way, there is another Capricorn time. It's going to go back to Capricorn again between September and November 2024, and that's the last time.
Oh, really? It's not January.
Yeah. It's going to be for maybe, I think, a month and a half.
Yeah, that's tantalizing to think about. So the one thing that I think about with Pluto and Aquarius is that what's going to become very empowered is this exodus from the Death Star, the establishment, government, and that's going to become very empowered. And what's also going to become empowered is groups are going to become very magnetic.
Oh, yeah.
And there's going to be this magnetic power to groups. And the wisdom, I think, to keep in mind is select your groups very wisely. Because some of these groups are going to be very toxic, just magnetically very toxic and quite frankly dangerous. There's going to be danger, group danger.
Yeah.
And so be very careful, because when I mean by magnetic, it's going to be very alluring and captivating.
Oh yeah, alluring, captivating.
Things, right? And then the other thing that's going to happen is what's been exposed for the last 15 years is our institutions and establishments, medical, educational, government. And that's just on top of the surface. Below, what I use as an analogy or metaphor, an oak tree being like a government, like oak tree. Well, that's what got exposed, is the oak tree is rotten. Yeah. And it's still standing. It's still standing, but it's dead.
Resilient,
it's dead.
But dead.
It's just a matter of time before that thing gets cut down. But it's not down yet. But below the oak tree is a whole mycelium networks. Influencers and all sorts of stuff, and that's what's next.
Regeneration, Renaissance.
Well, when I'm talking about, yes, all of that, but I'm talking about what Pluto wants to do in terms of exposing hidden networks that are toxic or nefarious or rotten. And I think that's going to be really interesting, because it's this unmasking, and so it could be influencers that that you're like, oh, rah, rah, I love that person. Oh, guess what? He wasn't who he said he was. He's actually getting paid by this government NGO, for instance.
Yeah, especially as Saturn and Neptune come closer.
What they call patriots, P-A-Y.
Yeah, patriots. Oh, yeah.
And so they're secretly working for NGOs and people you don't know about, and you're following, going, oh, my God, this person's so great. I listen to him all the time, and it turns out when Pluto unmasks them, they weren't who they said they were.
Exactly.
So authenticity and integrity mean a lot there. And what's important to Aquarius is you just keep it real,
Definitely.
No phonies. And so I think that's really interesting. I will want to say one other quick thing. What I really took from 18 months of North Node in Taurus was a lot, but one thing I took were these two words that I think are going to really play into the plot moving forward, which is self-sufficiency.
Self-sufficiency, yeah.
So I would ask you, what did you learn about, just in general or personally, about self-sufficiency, the importance of self-sufficiency in a Taurus way? Or how do you think that affected people? I think people got a sense that that's more important than they realized. I gotta save some seeds here. I gotta learn to garden. I gotta da.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see it. People are wanting to eat better, to grow their own things. They're talking about fuel sources. They're talking about energy sources, homesteading, exactly. Thriving and surviving. So I'm seeing a lot of people the past couple of years, especially, realizing that this is very important. Now with Jupiter in Taurus plus Uranus still, you're going to see a lot more of this innovativeness and creative genius, especially as Jupiter and Uranus come together. I think in February, I forgot when they come together, but soon, in a few months, Jupiter and Uranus will come together, and it's going to be huge. This is all the genius ideas being manifested, materialized, and made real in Taurus, made substantial, made tangible and practical. Learn to discern with all this Mercury and Mars energy, really learn to discern and be discriminative in a good way when it comes to who you choose, who's right for you. The puzzle pieces have to feel right. You have to make sure that the group dynamic is working and that everyone serves a purpose in the group, and that there is individuality. There's room for individuality in each group.
Here's a Pluto and Aquarius thing. Guess what? I'm a celebrity because I'm in a certain group.
Yeah.
My celebrity doom is because I'm in a group.
Yeah. I belong.
group. I belong in a particular, maybe exclusive group or a special
Mm-hmm.
group, maybe a special group of mutants,
Yeah.
superheroes, freaks. And so
That they
I
had to
have
pay for.
status because I'm in that group.
Yeah, and they're holding on to that status. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clout.
So that's where, but then also there's like a, what do they call it? Like an outsider quality to Aquarius. So is the outsider going to be seen as powerful now, not the insider, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's outsider, insider. Yep. Do I belong? Do I fit in? Do I want to rebel? Mm-hmm.
A lot of outsider stuff will really be exposed as being insider. Because remember, inside is that 10th house, Capricorn.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You're in a class of society that's accepted, that's has notoriety status, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're kind of like F this. You do an exodus, you bail, you sacrifice a lot because you're no longer in that status of
That
the 10th
status.
house, and now you're free. You're an outsider. But I think
Mm-hmm.
what Pluto's going to expose again is a lot of people that on the veneer look like outsiders,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
when you pull back the veneer, the mask, they're not an outsider. They're just acting like outsiders that
exactly.
left the 10th house, but they're working for the establishment still.
I think that that's going to happen more when Saturn and Neptune get closer in Pisces. There's going to be a lot of revelations, a lot of
Mm.
sobering, a lot of sobering thoughts, realizations. You know, people that you've had an image of and that you placed a certain ideal onto is going to get
Mm.
stripped, and you're going to see them for who they are. The fantasy is going to pop when Saturn gets closer to Neptune, and around 2025, they're going to go back and forth over the 0 degrees Aries point, Saturn and Neptune. That's major, major times 2 years from now. But we'll get there day by day. But another big thing with the Jupiter and Mercury, Jupiter's going to go retrograde, I think, starting September 4th until maybe end of November, beginning December, I think. I forget. But September 4th, Jupiter's going to go retrograde from 15 degrees to 5 degrees. The fact that it's happening at the same degrees as Mercury in Taurus makes me feel like something major with values, economy, finances, technology, because Uranus, right, is also there in Taurus. Major ideas are being reinvented with this. And it's definitely financial. Definitely financial with this Jupiter retrograde. And it's happening at the same time Mercury goes retrograde also as well.
Yeah, I keep thinking of Mars and Mercury and Virgo as being detail oriented and getting more hip to the devil in the details.
Devil in the details, yeah. This is definitely a lot of people discerning in a very penetrating way. In a very penetrating way, especially because that grand air, that Mars and Virgo is going to hit that grand Earth trine to Pluto, and when the Leo new moon happens, so that's going to really dig deep below the surface. It's going to uncover the stability. What are you
Got
saying?
an image of Neptune's been in Pisces for quite a while. When did Neptune go into Pisces?
I don't have an ephemeris right here. I want to say around 14 around 13 years ago. So I'll say around 2009, 2010.
Okay,
2010,
so
I'll say.
it's been in Pisces for a while, and what I see progressively as that's happened is people get to choose more and more their version of reality, their own movie bubble. Like think of like a water bubble that kind of that glistens out this water bubble, and you can kind of just look into it and see whatever movie you kind of want, this Neptunian fantasy bubble. And so it's choose your own adventure, choose your own reality. We've had this luxury as we've moved through this unprecedented time period in history where everyone just choose your own version of reality, you know. And and people are doing that, but as Saturn moves through Pisces, I'm just seeing those bubbles go pop, pop. I don't know if Saturn has a needle, but those water bubbles, those fantasy bubbles are just going to just get progressively more popped.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what's inside those bubbles. I don't really want to know, but It's going to be a massive wave of disillusionment.
Yeah, a lot of nonsensical stuff is going to get popped.
Maybe mental illness. I mean, I've heard that we're running into a pandemic of mental illness.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
another scary thing.
right?
Saturn,
Because
Neptune definitely can cause that.
You don't have the luxury of the fantasy anymore with Saturn and Pisces.
Yeah, exactly. Or what can happen also is if you do, because it is in ruling Pisces, Neptune rules Pisces, right? So
It's true.
Because it is in there, there's going to be certain times of the year with certain aspects, because this is a long transit, this Neptune and Saturn conjunction, pretty long. So there's going to be times where many people, many dreamers, and I'm not going to get into religions right now, but many people that are spiritual, many dreamers, they're going to be able to really change their career because of this, or make a career out of their fantasies, their imagination, all that spiritual stuff. But I also think religions are going to get really are going to come under some scrutiny. Religions really are going to come under scrutiny, and people are going to start.
It's a judge. Saturn. Hey, let's just call it Saturn is a judgment.
Yeah, the judgment. Exactly.
Judgment's in Pisces, the last sign.
And Pisces very spiritual and religious too.
Yeah, the religious stuff. Why? I really hope that people are getting more hip to certain institutional expressions of religion, which have done an incredible amount of harm and haven't been heart-based.
Oh yeah.
They've been politically based. They've been power-based. They've been
military.
Sexual-based.
Yeah, sexual. Oh my God.
Exploitation of children-based. And so for me, I'll just be honest with you and the rest of the audience. All institutions and establishments to me are just they're all done in my.
At this point, they're all corrupted.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If any significant status of notoriety, they're tainted.
They're tainted. At this point, they're all tainted. There needs to be a major wash.
And everything they say or announce or message is highly suspect. If they came out and said what we just assume is common knowledge, I would be suspicious.
Just because
government came out and said I existed, for example, I would be suspicious.
Yeah, right. Exactly. What's common knowledge? You have to question. Oh, what the hell? I don't trust you at all.
So what else is going on in the world that you're seeing that's crazy? Anything in the UFC? Oh yeah,
definitely with the UFC. I mean, with the UFC, you have some great fights coming up tomorrow. But I definitely want to start tracking the Saturn, where Saturn is in relation to fighters' sun signs. So, for instance,
I want to add on to that. Maybe we should do some deeper research and do Mars, if their Mars is in Pisces. So just to let the audience know, we're saying wherever Saturn is, it will affect certain fighters more than other fighters, and we're kind of calculating that and then getting a sense of that, so that maybe we could put some friendly wagers on that one day.
Yeah, definitely. We are calculating. We've been calculating. Pinpointing to see what UFC fighters are maybe on the more luckier side of winning, or what UFC fighters are maybe more prone to losing on a certain day, or having a tougher time, at least more challenging time. So definitely, we're keeping an eye on that. But exciting card tomorrow, man.
Yeah, there's some good fights. Tony Ferguson has the most to lose.
Yeah, he might retire if he loses, but that's going to be interesting. There's actually some animosity now between them. Wonder Boy is fighting. That's always going to be good against Pereira.
I didn't realize he was 40 years old.
Wonder Boy's 40. Yeah, he's older than me. He's a few months older than me. Yeah,
he just looks very baby-faced.
He does. Yeah, he looks like a boy because he has got boy in his name, and he might change it to Wonder Man. Anyway,
Wonder Man.
So he's 40. I think he's 40. Yeah, he's 40. But Jan Blachowicz is 41.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And he's fighting tonight also. I mean, tomorrow night. So that's going to be interesting.
Pereira guy, when I watched him at the press conference, looking at the guy, he looks like a superhero out of a comic book.
Or a super villain. Yeah, He
Yeah,
could be
super
either
villain.
one.
He does look villainous, but he seems like a really nice guy
He's a
at the same time.
he's very, very
Yeah.
warm, very
And
warm-hearted.
Tigress guy, I'm fascinated because
Sense of humor
he's
too.
training with Glover, the
Uh-huh.
older fighter Glover.
Glover Teixeira. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's a Scorpio sun, and Pereira, I suspect, is a Scorpio Pluto. So it's kind of like his Pluto is getting like prepared by the Scorpio sun. That's kind of how I was
pretty,
seeing it.
yeah, pretty
Mapping
cool.
it.
Yeah, it's cool.
And
We can see that stuff. Definitely.
by the way, any UFC fighters or MMA fighters out there that need some professional assistance with their fight game, me and you are available and currently offering our services to gain that extra added advantage that only astrology can afford.
Yeah.
You know what separates millionaires and billionaires?
Astrology.
Billionaires use astrology. There you go. Ding,
There
ding,
you go.
ding.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. And yeah, it's also for the cage, for professional world, for your relationships, for everything. It goes far beyond just the cage or your career. Every facet of life, psychology. It's an incredible tool, really. But definitely, it'll help you.
Astrology. You know what I love about astrology? Sometimes in life, things happen to yourself or other people that are really hard to accept.
Yeah.
And astrology, it doesn't make like those really painful things kind of less painful in a way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They're just painful, you know, you lose a loved one or whatever. But with astrology, it puts it in a context where you're like, oh, I can see the pattern. I can understand it on a deeper level.
Yeah.
And so there's like a deeper acceptance of how life plays out. And I think just that alone, really helps.
It makes me at least have a sense of completeness, a sense of Pisces in a way, like a wholeness, a completeness. Yeah. And I feel like that there's like missing links that I'm connecting to myself, and I'm like, okay, there's a bigger plan here. So every time I feel like distressed or like, oh my God, life is too much, but then I'm like, all right, you know what, man, you're playing your role. This is what you chose, or this is what I earned.
You can see your soul syllabus in a way, your itinerary for your life. You can see some of the mapping and see how it unfolds even in time, backwards and forwards.
Exactly.
It's almost, I was thinking, like, if life is like medicine in a spoon, your lifetime is like medicine. Don't you want some sugar with that medicine to help it go down? Mm-hmm. Astrology is the sugar.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're in a rut, you can be like, let me see how the next year is going to look, or 5 months from now is going to look, you know? And if it looks bad, hey, get ready. You should prepare yourself, you know? If it looks troublesome, you can prepare yourself. That's another thing with astrology.
If I see a really bad pattern or trend coming up for me, I just go into hibernate for a year and a half.
Whatever works, man.
I just sleep it off.
Yeah, that's a very Taurian thing to say. Yeah. With your moon and Saturn in Taurus.
So upcoming, let's leave off with some upcoming stuff. We got full moon and new moons coming up.
Yeah.
Major themes in Aquarius and Leo.
Oh yeah, major. Yep.
Take a look in your chart where that is, and then of course the North Node and South Node keeps marching on. We got this yod, and then we have the nodes and Pluto, right? The square, this continued square energy.
Ongoing square, at least till the end of the year. North Node and Pluto will be square. The North Node's moving, more further down, 25, 24 degrees. It'll get further in. And Pluto's going to go back into Aquarius. And then they're going to move further away. But at least for another solid 2 or 3 months, they'll be together. Close enough. Oh, yeah. Pluto square the nodes. So that's going to bring a lot of tension, a lot of transformations that we're meant to be going through during that. And then all these planets are going retrograde.
Oh, retrograde.
Venus, Mercury's going to go again, Jupiter.
So Leo season is known for best part of summer. It's party season, time to celebrate, yet it's kind of reflective. It's self-reflective.
Very reflective.
So that's just like a real simple, go out and celebrate. Find love, all that stuff. But it's also especially Venus retrograde, expect it to be a little bit ponderous and self-reflective.
Contemplations, yeah.
Or inner, you know, like an inner journey.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah.
So last piece of advice, keep your powder dry. What's your last piece of advice?
Shoot for the stars.
Shoot for the stars, keep your but keep your powder dry.
Yeah, sure. Keep your powder dry.
So just don't shoot blindly. Be selective in your shooting.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. You only have
Shoot
so
for
many
your
arrows.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, that was a lot of fun catching up, and let's do that. Let's do it again, maybe in a week or two. See where we're
we
at.
can do it sooner. Definitely. There's
And
a lot of stuff to talk about.
We will talk soon. Peace out.
Adios. Take care, guys. Ciao.
Ciao.